Yo, we are ready. M52 is all together. Look how sweet that thing looks. And ready to fire. So Brendon's on his way over right now. We're gonna set up the base map tonight. We gotta redo quite a few things because new injectors, new displacement, new turbo, blah, blah, blah. So he's gonna set up a new base map. We're gonna retune this, but tonight we're just gonna get it fired up. Pretty excited, pretty nervous, but I've cranked it over enough that I don't think we'll have any issues. But here, I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you guys the engine and everything that's going on. Here it be, M52 2.8. Got the sweet valve cover, R8 coil packs, seems legit garage hose kit, fresh produce manufacturing manifold, turbocharged E3900 down there, Treadstone air filter, M50 intake, 2.5-inch charge piping all the way around, oil cooler up front. Still need to wire that, but we can still run it as it is. Huge Treadstone TR 1235 intercooler. A lot of little stuff behind the scenes. S54 oil filter housing, oil cooler lines, ATI super damper down there. Excited to see this thing fire up. So, Brendon, what are we doing?
So, Dylan's got his new motor, and we don't want to break it because I'm really scared. So, we're just going through and checking everything we've changed and made sure there's no weird things going on. So, basic first steps, we've got new injectors. So, we want to put a calibration in to suit the new injectors. Is pretty important. We don't want to flood it or wash the bores on the new motor. So, we'll go through that, then we'll check each individual item. Make sure they fire, make sure the coils fire, make sure the throttle body works, make sure everything's functioning. And then once all that's functioning, we'll crank it over, make sure we get some oil pressure because that's pretty nice. And then if we get all that working, plug everything in and see if it runs.
So we've changed quite a bit on the car this year. We did the Pulsar G3900, so it's a bigger turbo. Then we went down in displacement, so it's a 2.8 instead of a 3-liter. We went with the bigger 1500cc Snake Eater performance injectors. So we went up from, I think I had 1000s before. So a lot of small changes that can affect the tune big time, I'm sure. So Brendon's making those changes now.
So we've got the new injectors. We go through, want to test everything. So we don't have any fuel in the injectors or the rail at the moment because we had it turned off. So they'll probably pulse pretty loud and you'll hear them in the inlet manifold. So we're going to start at number 1 and work our way to number 6. Just confirm, Dylan, plugged all the wiring back in correctly.
Yep.
1.
Yep.
2.
Yep.
3.
Yep.
4.
Yep.
5.
Yep.
6.
Got it. So all the injectors are firing. We just did the same thing for the coils just to make sure those are all good. And just getting ready to fire it. Working on the Link ECU. running. Brendon killed it.
Good to go, baby.
Yeah, this thing fired up in about 10 seconds. Everything seems to be checking out really well. Motor quieted down once I had some oil ran through it. Probably do the first oil change tomorrow and retorque the head. But seems really responsive. Great exhaust note, so I'm stoked. Thank you, Brendon. It runs. How's it run?
Actually runs pretty good. It's a pretty successful night. No major issues. Look, I can't believe, Dylan, the BMW fitting leaked water, dude.
That didn't happen. No. Shut up. My viewers can't know that.
Oh, okay. No, BMW, it's all perfect, man. Never any issues. But no, honestly, everything went good. We got it started, got all the idle dialed in, got the fueling dialed in for idle, so fairly successful. It's actually really nice. These are quite big injectors. You got a lot of headroom and it still idles super smooth. So
yeah, I forgot about that.
Kind of a good thing, man. With such big injectors, sometimes they idle shitty, but 1650s are perfect. So yeah, I think it's a successful night. To be honest, we can check that oil filter, make sure everything's happy, and then hit the road.
Yeah, buddy. So yeah, it ran surprisingly well. You know, I've never put a motor together before. So Brendon cranked it like for 5 seconds. It fired up. And, you know, after running for a couple minutes, the top end quieted down. Everything kind of got quiet. And the smoke stopped coming out of the exhaust. And, I mean, yeah, like Brendon said, pretty successful night. Never done a lot of this before. And we were pretty meticulous with this engine. And just checking everything before we went to start it. So next up is the road. So what are we doing?
All right, so we're out on some Mexican roads, doing a little bit of testing here. Kind of want to get all this pretty dialed before we go to the dyno, because I don't have a dyno, so we're renting it. We're not trying to waste all our money sitting on there if there's issues. We obviously had the head gasket, wasn't super stoked about sealing itself, but we'll call it this, and
we're not talking about that.
Okay, so everything's perfect in the real world. In the YouTube world here, no issues. But now what we're doing is we're just slowly creeping up the boost. I'm building my map out here. This is fuel. I have a pretty safe timing in the car at the moment. We'll do timing on the dyno because I can't really feel what the timing's doing. There's a couple of things I can look at, but I prefer to see what the torque's doing, so we're not touching timing. We've got that nice and safe. And then we're just slowly creeping up through each section of our map here. Just adding sort of 2 pounds at a time as we go through, and we're at about 14 pounds now. Car feels pretty solid on the road. I'm ramping it in pretty slowly. Everything feels good, so we're going to tidy up this little bit here and then put some more boost in it.
Car seems super solid. We had some cooling issues that we sorted out, and just put a bunch of street miles on it. Probably done close to 150, 200 street miles in it. Used a bunch of ethanol, so I can't complain. We're gonna dyno it in a couple days here, but everything's checking out, and we'll go from there. All right, we got the car warming up behind us over here. Gonna go to the dyno today, so I swapped out the spark plugs, some fresh ones, little colder heat range. So we're gonna see what those do as we turn up the boost. Yesterday went really well. Got the car right where we needed it on the street. Everything checked out great. Plugs looked good. So we're gonna go ahead. After work today, I'm gonna drive to work, and then after work, we're gonna drive it to the dyno. It's about 30 minutes away. Fill it up some E85 and do some hits in the dyno, see what it makes for power, dial in the timing, the vanos, and the boost, and see what we do today. So I'll check back in with you guys when we're on the dyno.
And if you got a little excited at the time, you could knock it.
You had 60 pounds of boost in LS-based engine on E85.
Yeah.
How'd you keep the heads on it?
I have a set of like COD 6 bolts on an RHS block.
Ah, gotcha.
Like a thick deck COD heads.
What size head bolts?
It's like factory size still.
Really?
Yeah.
You weren't lifting heads?
No. Never did a head gasket on that thing. But I'm pretty aggressive on timing, so I'm not trying to create a bunch of. I'm my own motor, not everyone else.
Yeah.
So I'm just just gonna roll it up. These are my earphones. I got the link dot block here. Honestly, and the only thing I can hear at the moment is injectors and some valve train. That's hopefully all I hear for the whole time. But if there's any knock, I should be able to hear it with this. I've taken all the boost out from where we were on the highway, and I'm going to do some runs just on gate pressure, and then I'm going to put some timing in it, because as we said before, we didn't know where we were with the timing. So we're going to do some runs on gate pressure. Then once we got gate pressure sorted, I'll put some timing in it. If we see some good torque gains, we know we're going the right way. If we're not seeing torque gains, we'll leave the timing out of it. We know at 20 pounds, we only were about 70% injector duty cycle, so we know we got plenty of fuel. We got a huge fuel rod pump in the back that's brushless, but I'm only running it at about 80% at full power, so we got plenty of fuel back there. So fuel shouldn't be our issue if I run out of turbo.
Got the car strapped down to the dyno. It's a little bit loud in here. Doing the first initial pulls on gate pressure. Brendon just talked about it. And we're gonna see where it ends up. Motor looks pretty healthy. Pretty excited. We're using Kevin's dyno. He's about 25 minutes from my house. First time meeting him. The dyno seems pretty legit, and the atmosphere is kind of laid back. So I don't want to show you guys too much of our surrounding area, but it's at his house, so I'll keep filming from here. Brendon's getting the timing map sorted right now. So on 8 PSI, made 326 and 300 foot-pounds of torque. Seems about right for the 2.8. Just getting the timing sorted.
Yeah, so we're just creeping up on it 2 degrees at a time. It's picking up torque every time, so we'll put another 2 degrees in and see if it keeps going the same way.
Working on the map right now. Brendon's been adding and removing timing as needed. So right now the last hit was 17 PSI. We made 450 wheel horsepower and 460 foot-pounds of torque. So now we're gonna raise the rev limiter up and add some boost up here to see if we can carry it on. Other than that, everything's checking out. Motor seems healthy. It's clicking away. Dusty in here, but just went down a dirt road, so. So how's it going, Brendon?
We're actually going pretty good. We one thing we definitely noticed, if like we were seeing on the street where I was having to take all that fuel out, we revved that to 7,800 at that time. As you can see, it's up here at the 8,000 mark.
Yeah, boy.
And it's fallen over, so like we're literally wasting time, but we want to make sure that Dylan's good to go with fueling and everything's safe. So if he does want that at the track, it's available for him. But for now, we're going to drop it back to 7 where we know power is. And then every single run I've been adding 2 degrees. And we've been picking up 5 to 6 foot-pounds and picking up some decent horsepower.
Well, right here it picked up 17. Oh, that is, no, it's 17 foot-pounds.
Yeah.
On that last one, and then it made 15 more horsepower.
So it's definitely happy with the timing. So we're probably like 2, 4, 6, 8. We're probably 10 degrees way too safe on the street, which obviously wasn't hurting anything, but that's kind of where our booster's dropping back now because we've probably got less back pressure because it's not burning in the exhaust. So everything's going pretty good. We're up around 500 horsepower, so it's probably the most power you've ever had in a drift car, man.
Bling bling. So we got the tune pretty much dialed in. It made about 500 wheel, but we want to go over this with you guys.
So I think we're probably out of turbocharger or getting pretty close. We don't have a back pressure sensor on it. That would probably tell us, but from what I can see, we're pretty close. But we just got everything working really good. The timing right. So this line here and this line here, this is our torque, and this is our without Vanos, and this is with Vanos. So we got like, I'm not the best mathematician, but there's like, say...
85 foot-pounds of torque right there.
Yeah, correct? Well, it's between 180 and 240.
Okay.
So yeah. It's like 50, is that 50? 50-ish,
yeah,
just over 50.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then as we go up here, we go to, that's it's 28 and 84. So that's like 30 and 90. So that's another 60 foot-pounds there. Probably the biggest difference is right here, I'd say. 245 to 330, it's nearly, well, it's like 85 foot-pounds. So Vanos is a thing. It really does work. We're turning it off right here where the lines cross over, which is peak torque. It's holding a nice smooth line out there, so I think we're pretty much at where we're going to be with this car. So that's basically our final result. We'll let this thing cool down because I have been doing run after run with it, which is like pretty good repeatability. We're only a couple of horsepower away. Mm-hmm. We'll let those air intakes, the new intercooler's working way better than the old one. So air intakes are a lot better, so we're not pulling any timing with air intakes. So that's a bonus. So we'll let the air intakes cool down. I'll check through the logs. AFRs are nice and smooth. All Dylan's pops and bangs broke the sensor, dude.
Yeah.
What happened here? So,
about 18 pounds of boost. Got the VVTi on, or the Vanos. Picked up a ton of power everywhere. So that should help tremendously with spool and everything.
I think it's going to be pretty fun drive home.
Yeah, it should be pretty spicy as long as the police don't catch us in Mexico. We revved it a little bit earlier. We revved it out to 7,800.
I can bring that up on here.
Yeah, I think it was one of these polls we did. But I did 7,800. The power seemed to kind of taper off, so so here is the map when we revved it out to 7,800, or the dyno graph, I mean. So it really didn't make a big difference, but you can see everything right here. 494, 496, 497. Torque's about somewhere on all of them. But this is nice to have.
We also, from where these numbers are, we're like 2 degrees away from peak power, and for drift cars, I'd prefer just to keep it there. Like if we're going drag racing, we could probably put that in. It might be worth it. But for what you're doing, that 5 foot-pounds, you're not going to notice.
So biggest thing with the raised rev limiter is being able to use it at the track, right? So if I'm at a track where we're out of wheel speed at 7,000 RPM, we can bump it up to 7,800. and you know, gain some more wheel speed on track, so we're not hitting the limiter the entire time.
And test the oil pump.
And we're testing the oil pump and the damper and the bearings and everything, and the valve springs. Alrighty, so we're finished up here. The car made 496 wheel horsepower, 432 foot-pounds of torque at, let's see, 18.8 peak, and then right here it made 17.5 pounds of boost. So it seems like, according to Brendon and Kevin, the turbo's out of air because we turned it up to almost 19. And
Yeah, we think we're either out of air or the wastegate actually only has a 10-pound spring in it, not a 14-pound spring.
That would.
So they're the two choices of where we're at. So we can look at the wastegate spring in the future if we want to turn it up. I think it's going to feel pretty solid, like with the Vanos
VVT,
working.
yeah, the Vanos is huge.
I think it's going to feel pretty sweet. You're on a 245 straight tyre, so I think this should be okay for straight leg.
Shoots big flames.
Yeah, there'll be some time.
Shoots big flames. Pretty awesome.
Thank you for letting us rent your dyno, Kevin.
Anytime.